for the slight delay there getting started. I was just setting up, watering my seedlings. So let me get the message out here on Slack. Okay. All right, so good morning. Welcome to TGST 101 for today, for the 11 o'clock hour. So it's a nice sunny day. I'm watching, it's that one squirrel. There's like, this one squirrel that has a messed up tail, and it acts weird, and I'm watching it act weird right now, but it's not on my bird feeder yet, but that's where he's headed. Yeah, there he goes. Okay, well, I'll deal with that later, maybe. Anyway, good morning. Hope you all are doing all right. I got a haircut over the weekend. If you haven't seen me since for a while, my wife cut my hair and my son's, and I think she did a great job. It's very short and nice, so she was nervous about it, but she got it done, and it was great. So today I'm going to be talking about home pages and web pages, and it's a time for weird squirrels, right? Right, Andy? Yeah. This one has the tail, like he's missing fur on his tail, and I don't know if that was a result of an accident or something, but it's kind of unpleasant looking. Today I'm going to be talking about home pages, and that's because that's the final thing you have to do for this class, or not quite the final thing, but pretty much the final thing. And let me talk a little bit more about that, just to be clear about what you need to be doing and thinking about. So at this point, hopefully you've completed the archaeology projects. If you still need some time, that's okay, but you should move on to other things. There are other things too, so I want you to get that done as soon as you can. The next thing is the digital methodology project, which I know many of you are ramping up because you've talked to me about it, and I've been helping you figure things out. Happy to keep doing that. That's the main thing you should be doing right now. The next thing, though, is the yourdomain.com assignment, or you might call it your portfolio assignment. And I wanted to spend today's stream talking about your options and choices that you need to make as you prepare for this assignment. After that, there's just a final self-evaluation, and that's just like you did for the midterm evaluation. It can be informal. It can use whatever format you want. It can be as long as you want or as short as you want. Just kind of tell me how you think you've done this semester. As you do that, of course, you should acknowledge and talk about how all of the challenges this semester, which have been very extraordinary challenges this semester. So your idea of the work you did should certainly acknowledge that and talk about how you've overcome those challenges, or how maybe they were just too much in some cases. Be honest, but be kind don't be hard on yourself. Basically, be kind, and I'm sure I will be too, as far as actually assigning the grade, which is what I ultimately have to do. So, but the thing, yourdomain.com will require a little bit more thought. One thing that I'll mention again, but I do want you to keep in mind with this, is that you have lots of choices, and sometimes, it's because of that, it's hard for me to write a one-size-fits-all assignment, and certainly it's hard for me to write like a one-size-fits-all set of expectations for a rubric. So really the best way to proceed with this, and what I find works really well, is just to have a one-on-one conversation with each of you about what you plan to do with your site. Now there are a lot of you, and there's only so much time in the day, only one of me. So if you can't find a time to meet with me, then the Digital Knowledge Center can also give you a similar kind of tutorial in terms of some of the things I'm talking about here. So if you can't meet with me, or you'd rather not for some reason, then they are an option as well. I just want to go ahead and mention that now, and I'll remind you about that again as well. So basically the idea of a home page, this is something that I wanted to give you a little bit of a history on. This is something that has changed over time, but we're talking about now yourdomain.com, and that's your home page. And just to be clear, terminology is tricky, so let me try to be clear here. I'm talking about what is on your actual domain, not on any subdomains. So when I talk about my domain, I'm talking about zachwhalen.net. That's different from any subdomains that I have on that. I don't even know what I have on here. Do I have a DGST 101 subdomain? I might. I don't. But let's see, what do I have here? What is this? Well, that's what I just tried to go to. But anyway, I'm not talking about a subdomain. Many of you are blogging on subdomains and you haven't touched your homepage yet. That's fine, but this is now the time to do something with your homepage. So those are many of you who signed up for your a domain for the first time this semester, that's what you probably are doing. That you probably you've been doing content for this class in a subdomain and left your homepage with that default bus image. Now is the time to move that bus and put something else there. Lots of different choices you can make, and I'll go through some of those. But that's what we're talking about when I'm talking about the homepage. The idea of a homepage, like, it's definitely changed over time, and I can show you my personal history with it, which is maybe the best way because it's, I've been doing it for a while. But if you go to web.archive.org, this is, oh no, scheduled maintenance. Okay, web.archive.org is one of the greatest resources on the internet. This is something that is it gives you old copies of websites, what they used to look like. And I was going to take you back in time to see my homepage over time, but it looks like they are down for maintenance. This just happened. How long are they going to be down? Let's see. Maybe they're not going to say. Maybe this is just a generic message. Okay, cool. Well, let's take a look at it. I do actually have this one up still. This is my homepage from 2008. So this is about 12 years ago. So that's kind of actually a good, this is a good example I was going to show you, but this wasn't my first example. That's something else I was going to show you. Let's see, I have multiple tabs here, so maybe, here's a good one. So this is one of my first probably my first homepage that I actually thought about in terms of the design. So and the content. So you can see I've got this like goofy, text shadow title for my name, but it is my name. I've got a very simple introduction to myself here. This is who I am, and each of these links are links to different things. So I'm looking. This is a link to the list of people who taught in my program that I was adding, and this is the University of Florida. I don't know why I would have linked to the state of Tennessee's website. This is interesting. This is a much older website. This is like 2002. So this goes way, way back. And so some of my decisions that I made at that time, I'm not totally sure I can account for now. So I don't remember, in other words, why I did some of these things. But you can see I've set this up with a particular audience in mind, which is my students. And if you can click on the if you had been able to click on that teaching link, you'd have seen my teaching homepage. This is, let's see, for some reason I thought it was a good idea to have these random clip art images, and some of them were links to different kinds of content. I don't know why I did this. I think that's a picture of Alan Turing, but I can't quite see because it's very, very small. And that's what it is. Let's see, contact. I wonder what that was. So, right. Let me see if I can get a different, see if I happen to have this in my history. Yeah, this was an earlier version of a different web page, but this is the page that eventually became my homepage. And I wanted you to notice the URL, if you can see here. That's the URL that I thought of as my homepage for many years. Like for about 5 or 6 years, this was my homepage. Like I had this on my business card. I put it on my resume. It's www.nwe.ufl.edu//zwaylen, and that was the shortest domain. I don't want to go there. That was the shortest domain I could get. Like that was the shortest thing I could get. The one that I also linked to and used was this one, and this is the earliest homepage I could find of any sort by me. And actually, looking at it now, I kind of like the minimalism of it. It's not too bad. It's better than that other one with the big text title. But here it's class.ufl.edu/users/zwaylen, and that class, that's College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at the University of Florida. So that's a very long URL. It's a very long domain. It's not my domain. It's ufl.edu, and it's just me having some space within that. And I mention that because you're actually in a very different situation. You're in a much better situation where you can actually put everything about you into your actual domain, and that's what people see, and that's where you can put your things. You're not kind of being out there as part of UMW. You're being out there as yourself, and that's a big difference. It's easy to take for granted because we're just kind of in this domain of one's own world now at UMW, but it is a big deal. It is something that was not the case or was not available until a few years ago. No other schools were doing it, and we started doing it, and now a lot of schools are doing it. But basically, it's a way to acknowledge that we want you to be yourself on that having a domain and putting your content out there is much more valuable intellectually and professionally than having content that you can put on the web in this kind of directory space structure where you're just one of several thousand people that have this, right? So that's something that I wanted to mention too. But again, as you can see, the main audience here is my students, and they would, if they found this page, they would go here and hopefully find information about my site and about their class. And I had a pretty good. I started making home pages for my classes in 2002. I wish I could show them to you, but I can't. They were basically like, here's the syllabus, here's the schedule, here's assignment descriptions, and it was the kind of things that I put now on Canvas or on DGST101.net or other places. Like for my graphic novel class, I use MaryWashaComics.net. So, well, anyway, this is a website. I was hoping to show you a much better version of this because I did a pretty neat thing, I thought. I'm still pretty proud of the design I did for this website. The design, though, isn't hidden at the moment because it's the archive, the Wayback Machine failed to include the imagery, which forms the visual look of my website here. It does look nice, and I'm sure I have an archive of it somewhere, probably on this computer, but I haven't tried to dig it up yet. Actually, it's probably on that hard drive. Now I think of it, I have an external hard drive that probably has it on it, but I'm not going to bother with that now. Maybe I'll show you later. The point is, this is a much more developed and a richer homepage, and this is more along the lines of what I'd recommend for you. That said, of course, you should always think about what is your situation. So this is me right as I was going on the job market, and so if you can see, like here, I'm saying this is my name. I'm a PhD candidate, ABD, which means I'm about to finish my PhD. And here's the things you need to know about me. This is a biography. I've got links to things here. I've got lots of keywords. So if you were searching like House of Leaves, you might find that. You might come across my page, or alternate reality gaming. You might end up, these are different research interests I had at the time. So this is something where you can learn more about me as a professional scholar of new media, the things I was working on at the time. If you notice, I've also got my homepage, my name here several times. So Zach Whalen, the title, which you can't see, was just my name, Zach Whalen. And then I also had, links to the book I had just published or was about to publish. I've got links to websites I've built. I don't know why I kept this now playing list here. I've also got a little blog, but it's not the main emphasis. I even called it a mini blog. So this is just kind of the stuff I've been doing sort of semi-regularly. So if you look down here, I updated this actually about once a month, which is pretty good. Certainly more often than I update it now. But it's really not the emphasis of the website. Like I'm not writing this as a blogger. Like this is not something like you check my site every day to see what I've written. This website had a different purpose. This was a professional portfolio. Now I did blog here. This is gameology.org, and this site we've shut this down now. But this was something that this is kind of during the heyday of blogging, or maybe a little after, but at least was still quite a popular thing to do in 2000 up to 2008. We got a lot of comments. We actually built a community. This was a group of other grad students that we came together and decided we would do a blog, and a scholarly blog, and it was great. I think we did a lot of good writing here, and we got a lot of attention, and really kind of helped launch our careers, some of us. So it's really cool. And this is a place where I did blog pretty regularly. And even what I wanted to show you here is even on this site that I'm linking to this homepage version of this. I've got the same bio here, but I've also got the nwe.ufl.edu//zwhalen. So even despite the awkwardness of that domain and that URL, I was still able to get a fair amount of people coming to this as my homepage because of the keyword density here, where I've got my name, and then also the fact that this is a page called Zach Whalen, and here's a link to my homepage on that page. I mentioned those two things because what I'm talking about here is search engine optimization, or SEO, and whenever you're putting yourself out there, whenever you put your professional portfolio-based website out there, your goal is to get as many people as possible to visit that site. And the main way that people find sites is through search engines. And so you've got to do what you can to put yourself into that search engine and make yourself visible in those search results. As you probably know, and as a person who uses the web, you rarely click the second page of search results. So you want to get into that first page if possible, and you want to get near the top of that first page if possible. So I've done that. Like if you search for me on different things, I am a little bit surprised that my UMW directory page shows up higher than my homepage. I'm going to try to fix that. But you can see that as you skim down here, these are mostly all me. This is not me. I'm not sure that person, but everything else here is me. So that's partly because I have a fairly uncommon name, and also because I started doing this, 15 years ago. So I've got a lot of presence on the web here in terms of the content that Google wants to put on the homepage. That said, I want you to notice that I'm doing this in Google. I'm logged into Google right now, and Google notices that. It's like, hey, I just noticed that you Googled yourself, and it gives me some information here about what it thinks of me. So it's worthwhile to try this search in different search engines. So here's a DuckDuckGo search to see kind of how you're doing. And in this case, I am the top result, and yet there's also this other Zach Whalen, and this is great. So I'm still most of these. I'm not really worried about this person. In fact, I want to probably help this person jump up a little bit, because this actually looks like a pretty cool guy. So check this out. So this is WhalenUnderwater.com. Someone else named Zach Whalen, and this guy, I guess, is an underwater camera operator, and he takes pictures of sharks underwater. That's so cool, right? This is he does New England cold water diving. Look at this whale shark. That's crazy. So this guy is someone who has a business that relates to putting content on the web, and so he's, I'm sure, doing the same kinds of things I am to put himself up in the search engine. He's got links to his other profiles here. He should link his Instagram. But in any case, this is he's done the same things. He has a business that is based on people finding him on the web, and so he's done that, and he's done pretty well, because he's jumped up in the search results up to the second place for searching for our name. As you can see, there's also a lacrosse thing. Oh, mugshot? Is there a mugshot? No, this is one of those generic things. I think often when you search for just a name, it'll add mugshot because people try to do that. But, there's a Portland State linebacker with a lawsuit. Oh, okay. A research investor? Oh, wait, no, Zach. That's a different Zach. There's different ways of spelling my name, too. Anyway, I'm not really interested in going further down the rabbit hole. The point is, you want to control that as much as possible. Something I do recommend in class, something I do it as an in-class activity, is Google yourself and find out what you find. I think we may have done this in this class. That can be risky because sometimes you might share a name with someone who has a lot of really inappropriate images out there, for example. But it's an interesting and eye-opening experience. What we want to do now is make sure that when people find you, when they search for you, that they find the version of you that you want them to find, and that's what we're really taking control of with this homepage. So there's several strategies, there's several things you can do to make yourself more visible, and I've mentioned a few of them. But really just things like naming your site your name, getting other sites to link to your site with your name as the link text. Those are the two biggest things, and then adding frequent content that people want to interact with or share. That's the other thing. So let's talk about some of those specifics, and I'm going to be doing this in a pretty general way because that's all I have right now. But I also note that many of you will have differences, and you may not want to do the things I'm recommending, and that's totally fine too. So this is the website, and on this website I have some suggestions. This is a bulleted list of suggested features. These are not required features, but they are suggestions, and some of these are pretty strong suggestions. To the extent that if you want to do something different, I'd like to understand why. So that we can understand that through our conversation, or you can explain it when you submit it. But these are things that are good to have on any website. And so if you don't have these, then I would like to know why. If you can't meet with me again, this is basically some extra stuff that the tutor will help you with. The DKC tutor can help you with. These are kind of built into the recommendations, but that's another kind of checklist for them to follow. Okay, so let me talk about some options and actually get into some practical things in cPanel. So we're talking about domain of one's own, and this is where you're going to be doing your content. I can make a couple recommendations right away. So first of all, let me switch to my correct account. Now, as you're doing this, so I have a ton of WordPresses. If you already have WordPress in your homepage, so again, not in a subdomain, but in your homepage, you don't need to install a new WordPress. Just that one will be fine. You just might need to reconfigure it a little bit. And I'll show you some configurations here shortly. If you don't have anything on your homepage, you can either move your WordPress that's in a subdomain into your homepage, but it's probably easier just to install a fresh copy of WordPress in your homepage and then customize it and link to the content in your subdomain from there as you need to. So let me, those are kind of the three big strategies that people do. Let me show you something that I do not recommend. So there's this thing here called Site Publisher. I don't know, let me scroll better. When you're in cPanel, you might think, oh, I need to publish a site. Here's this thing called Site Publisher. I'm going to try that. If you've done this already, it's not the end of the world. We can still walk it back. But there are some things about this that I don't think are great, and so I don't recommend doing it. So this is, I'm going to walk through the process here, and again, maybe you've done this already. It's not a big deal if you have, but I don't recommend it if you haven't. I do not recommend doing this. Let me show you why. So you might click on this and you think, oh, these are some nice looking templates. I just need a basic web page. Let me just do one of these. I don't know what that is. Let's do that one. It's a countdown, whatever, fine. And then you got some options you can customize. And so here's the first issue I have with this. These options are not these are not easy to change later. I mean, you have to go all the way back in here, you have to go back into this form, and even finding it sometimes can be tricky. So I don't necessarily recommend change this for that reason, that it's kind of hard to work with. Another thing I don't like about this is that as you fill this out, you're like, oh, let's see, I gotta put a title, I guess that's my name, here's my email address, here's my Facebook, here's my Twitter, here's my Instagram, here's my Google, well, not Google Plus anymore. And some of these actually have your phone number. I don't recommend putting your phone number or your email address on your homepage. I don't recommend including them in your resume either if you put that out. There's just no reason for people to have that much information about you, and I mean, it opens you up to risk. Like, people could bother you, could stalk you. It's not really worth that risk. There are other ways you can have people contact you, and I'll show you those that are safer, and that's what I recommend. So I think that these things here in Site Publisher are sort of, they give you the false sense that this is a good idea to put this information out there, and I don't agree with it. So I don't recommend this. If you did do it, you can undo it, but it's not. But I do kind of recommend undoing it, and I can walk you through that if you'd like. Another thing you can do, I guess this is worth mentioning, if you want to just sort of code something from scratch and just like write your own HTML, put whatever you want into it, that is possible. In your public domain, in your file manager, mine is a mess because I have so much in it, but it'll be a lot simpler. Public_HTML is your homepage. So like whatever you have here is going to show up when you go to whatever domain. I don't even know what domain I have here selected, but whenever you have your domain, you would see a much smaller list of folders. And that's where that bust image is when you first install your website. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to just do a static HTML page. If you want to do something simple like some of those templates, I'd recommend doing it yourself, and I can show you how to do that. It takes a little bit more instruction. It's if you've never done HTML before, but if you'd like to learn HTML, there's a lot of good tutorials out there and lessons and curricula that are free that I can show you, and you can make your own HTML page, and it could be great. But a lot of you I think are going to use WordPress, so that's what I'm going to show you now, how to use WordPress to make a decent looking homepage. So this is, let's see. Oh yeah, okay, so I'm going to go take a look at this WordPress and then see if I can make some changes. Again, and I'll keep saying this, I'm going to make some changes to this website because I expect these are the kinds of things you might want to do with yours. You might be thinking, oh, how do I do that? Is this the same one I just did? Sorry, I have multiple. I don't think it's the one I did. No, it's not. Okay, but I do have Jetpack installed here. Anyway, so I'm going to show you some basic things, and then some common things that people do, and then I'll go from there. So, okay, this is a pretty elaborate theme. I'm going to change that, definitely, but wow, this is quite a theme. I'm going to change this theme. Or, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll try to deal with this theme because that's sort of the situation you may find yourself in. Like, you may find yourself in this, you've got this nice looking calligraphy theme, but the actual, like, you got all this stuff instead. Like, what is all this? So let's see if we can improve this. Okay, so remember what I was saying about search engine optimization. You want this to be a site about you. So one of the first things you should do is make sure that it's presenting it that way. So go to settings and then general, and that's going to be the place where you can say Zach Whalen, or Zach Whalen's website or something like that, or digital portfolio. Like, say what this is and who you are. And you don't have to have a tagline, but if you can think of something clever, that's fine. Okay, so that's the basic change you want to make there on the general page. Let's see, you also want to make sure that your username is showing up as a name, and if you go here you can check. It looks like I already have changed this one here, but you want to, I would recommend just your first name honestly, but if you want to use first last, that's fine. Anything other than admin, right, that's something that looks like you haven't really thought about it or changed it, but making it something that's your name will work. And also it makes more copies of your name on the web page, so it increases the keyword density for your web page. Okay, so I got a question. You are right, Andy, it is. It is like a whale. I just saw your note there. So yeah, I think he's done that on purpose. So anyway, so this is the base, yeah, changing your username. You've probably already done this. I gave you a lot of feedback about this from your Hello World assignments. Okay, so let's do some more things. So let's take a look at what the heck is actually going on the home page for this theme. And so some of this is just the name of, whoa, that's very long. So this is something you might want to think about. Like, that's a very big title. And because of that, I would either see if I could tweak the theme to make that title less large, or just kind of change the site title to just be Zach Whalen or something, and then make the tagline Zach Whalen's digital portfolio or something like that, because that's a very, very big graphical text there. Also, I don't know, I'm not super happy with that image. Alright, so I don't know what the heck is going on here. I've got a lot of things, though, if you look at it, that are really organized around the expectation that this is a website where I'm going to be blogging. I know that I'm not going to be blogging. I know that I just know myself, and I just don't think I'm going to blog that often. So there's no reason to have it organized the way that this site is currently, which is like, hey, look at all my recent posts, right? So you've got this latest post widget. You've also got archives for posts. Let's see. A lot of times you'll see the comments widget. There's a big blank space down here for some reason. So there's a lot of things in here that are just kind of unnecessary and not really about being a portfolio. So let me do some things that let me show you some things that I can do about that right away. So first of all, let's take a look under appearance and see what kind of widgets we have here. This is one of those complicated themes, but all themes have this ability to add and remove what are called widgets. And so these are going to be these little areas. Probably this is a widget, probably that's a widget. And you can look at them here and see, there may not be widgets too. The meta widget I always remove. To remove a widget, you can click it and hit delete, or you can actually just drag it over to the left and it goes away. I might want categories. I probably don't, but I'm going to leave them there for a minute. I definitely don't want archives, and I'll leave search there for now. So let's see what this does. So my latest post is still showing up. I don't want that. I also don't want whatever this is. So let's see. This is, and I don't know what don't want those either. But you can see at least it got rid of my meta widget. This could be one of these themes that has kind of like hard-coded widget areas in it, but usually when they do that, they let you change that. Now this is, you don't want to go here probably, but this is, if you want to actually change the code of the theme, you can go there. You can do that. If you do that, I recommend you make a copy of it or a child theme of it. But let's see what we can do here on the home page, because this home page is chaotic. Now this is actually the thing I am going to recommend, but you see it didn't actually do that, right? It's got this extra area here. I want to get rid of this whole area. Let's see. Feature post section. Display feature post. No. Okay, so that helped a little. The blog post section. No. This theme, by the way, I'm having to do more to this theme than I normally have to do to make a site under control. This is a pretty elaborate theme. Social link, I might want that. Sidebar section, single page, general layout. Okay, I don't know what that means, but let's try that. I might end up just changing this theme because this theme seems like it's really, really into this thing here. And this big slider thingy, I definitely do not want. Banner slider section, display banner slider. Okay, publish. Now maybe you do. I mean, maybe you want to have this be a slideshow of your projects. Like, that's not a terrible idea. I don't want it in this case. So that's gone. Good. I don't know what these things are. I don't know what this thing is. This is basically what challenge is. What is? Don't want to display sidebar post. I think that's what that image is from. Sidebar post. No? Use blank image display. Is that what that is? I don't even know what that term means, but okay, it's gone finally. There's still left a spot for it. Yeah, this is really a lot more work than you normally have to do. And as you can see, I'm basically turning off everything about this. So, you know, that's something that you might want to not have. Like, you might want to just do a different theme. It looks like I can put an image in the sidebar. Maybe that's a good idea. Let's try that. I got all these SpongeBob images here. Let's pick a random one. Let's pick Squidward over here. Maybe this is going to stick him over on the right. Oh yeah, so there's an about me. Okay, yeah, so this I guess would be a picture of you. And that's pretty good actually. I'm going to leave that. But that's kind of a useful thing to do if you have a lot of pages. Some people like doing that. That's okay. But this is something that's built into this theme, and not every theme will give you this option. I'm just kind of showing you how you can work with this. So in fact, I'm going to switch to a more generic theme because some of that stuff I was doing there was very specific to that theme, and basically I didn't like it. So let me try something a little bit more straightforward. Let me just try, I don't like 2019. Let's try 2020. So this is one of the default themes, and so that's, yeah, okay, yeah, let's try this one. This is you may have this theme. If you do, I would definitely recommend tweaking it a lot, because one of the things you want your site to do is stand out. Like, you want to make it look good. So if it looks like every other site that just installed the default theme, then you're not really doing much to stand out. And that's something I do recommend. And you can use these themes to change, these options here to change quite a bit about it. But let me show you a couple other ways to change these things. So let's see how it looks at the moment. Okay, much more generic, which is what I wanted. Good. I don't even, what is this? Okay, so I've got some unusual organization here. But looking at my posts, okay, I got some of this stuff here. I don't actually want these posts. So I'm going to move those to trash. Alright, so when you first install a WordPress site, of course, you get the Hello World post, and you've got that. You may have quite a few other posts by now. I've organized this into a category called class stuff, it looks like. And I've got, yeah, all my widgets pretty much turned off, which is great. So when you think about a portfolio site, though, when you think about like a homepage, think back to this version of my site here. The first thing you see isn't a blog post. If you haven't blogged for a while, which is actually the case currently on my website, it looks odd. It looks like, hey, you haven't blogged for a while. It looks out of date. In fact, it looks like I haven't even updated this teaching summary since spring 2018. Like, that's just something I haven't gotten around to. I also haven't really blogged much since I guess this was spring 2019 when I wrote this post. So, you know, it's not something I think of. I don't really blog, but this is the main thing I want you to see when you get to my site, is like the information about me, right? I should just go ahead and redo this whole site, actually. I've been meaning to for a while. But anyway, you want to have some content that says, hey, this is me, this is what's going on here. This is why you're here, probably. So, too many tabs. You know, I'm just going to go ahead and clear these to the right. Leave page. So, leave page. Alright, so I want to make this not just a Hello World post, because that's going to get out of date. It's going to look stale very quickly, like it does now, January 15th, right? Instead, I want this to be a static page that says, hey, this is my website. Here's what's going on here. So if you look at the pages, you get an About Me page by default, or the sample page, and that's usually fine. So let's take a look at that. This is, of course, just a generic page. I did not write this, but this is something that you could imagine as a home page. You would title it something other than the sample page. For example, I don't need to see that. You might call it About Me, or maybe About Zach Whalen, right? Something like that, and then you'd have your content there. Now we want this to be your home page, so we still need to do that to it, but we've got some content there that makes sense as a home page. So let's make that change here. You go to settings and then reading. And here's where you choose what you want the homepage to display. And you've got two options. So you can actually have it display your latest post, which is the default. But if you're not going to be posting much, you can select a static page and select which page you want to be the homepage. I just have one, but once you have multiple pages, you have to select that. And then you go there. You can leave that the way it is for now. And I'll show you what difference that makes. So now let me do that whenever I go to my home page. Now remember, this is my demonstration. So in your case, it would be yourname.com and not a subdomain and then yourdomain.com. But this is the place I have to demonstrate this, so this will work. So now we see the site name, we see the title of this page, and we see some content here. And you can put whatever content you want. I think a paragraph or two explaining kind of what your basic deal is good. A picture is good, but it doesn't have to be a picture of you, just a picture. That's helpful to kind of make your home page more interesting. And yeah, that's it. Now let's say you do want people to access your content. Like you do want people to actually get to the blogs. You can do that in two ways. And right now I've got it so that there's a menu item that links to the Hello World post, to all of the class stuff category. And so if you're doing a blog where you've been writing posts for multiple classes like DGSD 101, DS 106, History 298 or whatever, and you've already got those in categories, you can make each of those categories a different menu item. So when you go to the menu settings, it's under appearance, you go to appearance and then menus. You can add, so I've got which one? Let's see, I got two of them here already. So I'm going to select this one. This is the primary desktop horizontal menu is what they've called it for this theme, and that's going to be this one, I guess. I've got a link to my class posts, and I've got that one as a sub, which doesn't make sense, so I'm going to remove that. But under here, under categories, you can add, if you have multiple categories, you can add them to the menu. I'm not going to add this one twice, but hopefully you get the idea. And yeah, this is the idea. So you can also add custom links to an arbitrary page. So if you can't figure out how to get the category in there, or if you want to link over to your other domain, your subdomain site, you can add that here that way. Or you can have a link to all your posts or whatever, like to a specific post, to specific pages. And then once you're happy with that, you save that, and then that shows up here. Okay, so that's, I lost the Canvas page that I had up with the bullet list on it. Let me get back to that. I'll go back to the assignment description so I can show you go make sure I'm covering everything on the bullets. Okay, so let me kind of review these things that I've talked about so far. We've talked about platforms. I do recommend WordPress. By the way, if you're installing WordPress for a fresh copy here, there are some that might be better than others. So if you go here to Applications Browser, these things, Big Picture, Dimension, Highlight, those are actually, I think those are actually just very lightweight WordPresses. So they'll give you something kind of like what that site publisher did, but it actually is a WordPress under the hood, and so you can do more with it, and it's going to work better for you. So those are good options there. If you do install WordPress, just like from this here, you might be interested in one of the installation profiles, but I've found people have had limited success with it recently. Let me pull it up here. So first of all, you don't want to put your site in blog, right? You don't want to put a subdomain. You definitely want it, subdirectory. You just want it to be yourname.com, zachwhalen.org. I recommend a clean WordPress, and then you can work with it that way. You might be intrigued by this student personal and professional site, because that's something that you are doing right now. You're making a personal and professional site, most likely. The problem I have is that this particular portfolio, what they call a profile, it's like a copy of WordPress with a ton of stuff built into it. It's like 180 megabytes of stuff. And so it takes a while to install. It also destroys your disk space. So I don't really like it right now, and I would like to have a chance to work with DTLT or DLS or the Domain of One's Own people to make that a much smaller profile, because right now it's too big. But if you've used it, that's fine. It's just like, note that you will probably run into a disk usage error pretty soon. In any case, let me go back here to the recommendations. Yeah, again, it's probably going to be WordPress for a lot of you, but there are others. Grav is a great platform if you want something that takes a little bit more work to set up, but works very well once it's set up. Flat HTML, that's just hand coding your own HTML, totally fine, but again, takes a little bit more work at the beginning. All right, so you want to have a specific clear title, so really anything other than my blog is good. A unique design, so put some thought into it, choose a good theme. Hopefully you know how to do that. I covered that a while ago, but if you'd like some advice about that, then certainly feel free to ask. But customize it a little bit. Some content. So you might want to put a resume on here. If you have things you want to brag about, then that's a good place to do that. I would just make it not a copy of your. I'd recommend don't put a PDF copy of your resume on a web page. Also, don't put your actual contact info in the resume. Like a lot of times, resumes will have that built into it. Like if you're handing someone a paper resume, then yeah, definitely you want to put your contact info on it. But on the web one, I don't recommend putting your phone number or your email address. There are other ways to do that. CV, that's good. Portfolio page is also a good idea. You should have some kind of portfolio or some kind of projects here. You should be able to say, here's some things I've done. And let me show you kind of probably the easiest way to do that and the most popular way to do it is simply to make a page. And let's call this page portfolio. Okay, we'll call this portfolio. And now within this block editor, this is the new WordPress editor. Here are just a few of the digital projects I've completed at UMW. Yeah, right. I mean, you probably say more, but maybe talk about the kinds of things you're doing or thematic interests you have or whatever. And then with the little block editor here, you can just add these blocks. And this is pretty nice the way this works. You hit the plus button, and then you can add different things. If you have a screenshot of a project, that's a great thing to include here because somebody might just skim this page and you want to give them some things to see when they skim. So you could add an image and then a description of that image. Of course, you can do different text kind of things. There are lots of other blocks, by the way. These are just the ones that come up first. But put several things in here. If you've posted something already on your subdomain, you don't have to copy that whole thing into the primary site. It can keep living there. You can just link to it from here. So your portfolio page is really a list of links with images and descriptions pointing to wherever those things actually live. So maybe you made a Twitter bot. You could link to that Twitter bot from here. That's the kind of thing that we can use this portfolio for. This is also, going back here, thinking about the web, and the whole idea of the web is that you can link things together. So I want you to have links on your homepage or on your site somewhere. And this might be a reasonable place to put some of those links. You've got links to other content you've done, but you could also link to, for example, Gracie, I saw your question. You can link to, for example, UMW if you wanted to. Or you could do something like, I completed many of these for my Intro to Digital Studies class. And then make that a link to DTST 101. Of course, you don't have to link to our class website, but that's an example of how a link could be a nice addition to this webpage, right? To make it part of that network. So yeah, build your content there and then go through that, and that's going to be the links part. Content and analytics I can get through pretty quickly. Let me see what Gracie's question was. Okay, so Gracie, this is one of these kind of we need to talk about it kind of situations. So if you would like to move what's on your homepage now into a subdomain, we can definitely do that, and then that would leave your homepage open, and then you could start with a fresh WordPress there. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it would just be to take what you have currently at your homepage and then reconfigure it to be more like the site I'm talking about here, the more general purpose site. So those are two different strategies we could take, and we should probably talk through the steps involved with each of those, and you can decide which is the more reasonable approach. So this is, again, like why I say this is, almost all of you will have questions like that. Like, here's a situation I have, which one should I do? And I can give you advice based on that, but it's hard to generalize. Let me see, Gracie, what is your... Yeah, you're just graciepack.com. Let's see. I mean, so Gracie, you've already got WordPress here. I mean, I don't know. I think you might. Yeah, obviously it's up to you, but I think you might be okay just sort of taking this site and then changing it, as opposed to moving it. Although you certainly could do both. Depends on how much space you have. Because if you make a copy of this site and then install a new WordPress, that's going to take up more disk space total. And no, you don't. No, you don't have to move it if you're currently. Let's see. Are you blogging in your homepage? Let's see. Yeah, no, I would just say keep this site, keep your WordPress where it is on your main domain, and then let's talk about ways to make it a little bit more general. Because right now it seems very much about DTST 101, and you've got some other kind of placeholder content. So let's make sure that to update that. But I would not recommend moving that. And it looks like Maddie's got a question too, and this is great. I mean, you can certainly ask questions here. While you're typing, let me show you, because I'm mindful of time. I do recommend having a contact method. So I don't think you should put your phone number or your home address on here. But there should be some way for someone to contact you. So they find your website, they're like, oh, this is great. Let me figure out how to contact you. So I do want you to do that. Let me see Maddie's question. I might. Okay, let me answer Maddie's question here, and then I'll show you how to do a contact page. Add that in the menu editor. I'll show you. So this is Maddie's question. So here, when I'm in the menu editor, right? So this is under Appearance and then Menus, and I'll click that so it refreshes. I want to add. Her question was adding my pages. And why is my portfolio page? Maybe I didn't save this page yet. Maybe I should publish it first. Yes. Okay. So this is my portfolio page, and now that it's published, I should be able to see it here. Let me refresh this. Okay, deleted the other one weirdly, but that's it. I guess it's most recent. But this is the portfolio page, and then you click Add to Menu, and it'll drop it here into this middle area, and then I can move this around. If you do this, by the way, I do recommend having a homepage link in here too, just to have make sure people can get to it. And then Save Menu, and then let's see how that looks. So now that shows up in my main navigation menu. So Maddie, I think that's what you're asking about. Of course, you could also be like, you should do multiple links, and it's okay to be redundant with linking. So on this page, I would also, in addition to having it part of the navigation that shows up everywhere, I would have something here that says, this text is kind of hard to work with, but you can review some of this. Okay, let me try it out. So this website is a presentation of my digital identity. You can here you can find some of my digital projects, and then read my resume and contact me with any questions. I don't know. You don't have to write this kind of thing, but this is just an example of what you might do. And then so you could say for digital projects, right? Like make this a link to the portfolio. How do we do this? Okay. Yeah, you have to start typing before it gives you the autocomplete, but that's a link now to that portfolio page. What did I just do? Okay. Anyway, so now that's going to be 2 ways to get to that page from my homepage, which is really what you want. Like you want to give people multiple paths, because the thing that occurs to you to click first might not be what someone else thinks of first. So you always want to give multiple options. Okay, so that's that question for Maddie. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me show you then how to do a contact page. So I've already installed Jetpack on here. Jetpack is a set of plugins that is connected to WordPress.com, which is also what you did with Akismet, which you should definitely do. You should definitely set up Akismet. You should probably do Jetpack too.
Dad,
yes?
Well, we heard the board that you were putting out when it was a lot of times. We made it sound, it thinks that we were another ball.
Okay, that's great. I look forward to hearing about that. She said she was talking to a bird and she was mimicking the sound of another bird and it responded to her. So that's pretty cool. Okay, close the door. I'm still on my video. So Jetpack. Jetpack is, you can install it for free. I've already installed it here, so I can't show you now. But there's a place where when you're first installing it, it's like, hey, how much do you want to pay? And you have to go way down to the bottom where it says pay nothing and use the free version. It has what it calls the personal version, which is like $40 a year. You don't need to do that. Just go down until you find the free version. Okay, so so this is where they're trying to get you to do that. Within Jetpack, you have a lot of like sub plugins built into it, and some of these are pretty good. So you want to look at them. The main one I recommend are the what do they have here? This is pretty neat. You can do different. Oh, neat! You can do a markdown within it. It has a portfolio thing built into it. I find it a little awkward to use, so I haven't used it myself. But there's a way that you can have a portfolio content type or a project content type that will show up in a portfolio display. But getting that all hooked together is not intuitive. I found it annoyingly difficult, and I think it's easier just to write your own page for that. Anyway, Jetpack is good. Once you have Jetpack installed, then you can do something with this. Can I add a new? No. Let me show you. You can add a contact page with WordPress. So let me add a page to put my contact form on. Contact me. And this is literally what I've done on my homepage. So if you go to zachwhalen.net/contact, I've done something very similar to this. Here's a way to get in touch. I would write something better here, like actually suggest why someone might want to contact you or what kinds of things you'd like to hear from people about, like, I don't know, job offers or questions about your projects maybe. But you can do that here if you go to AdBlock, and now that this is only available because I have already installed Jetpack. So when you first do this, you won't have this, but if you search for the different types of forms, there's this thing called Grow. It looks like that's part of Jetpack, but it's listed separately for some reason. So I'm just going to stick with the Jetpack one. And you want to add a form, not contact info, because that's your contact info. You want a form that someone else can use. So you click on this, and it's like, okay, where do you want these to go? Give it the email address that you want this to send to. Contact from website. So this is going to be what the email looks like when it comes to you. Then add form, and then this is what people will see. So they'll see that they need to enter their name, their email, their website if they have one, and then their message to you. And you'll get that to your inbox. It also will show up into a particular place within your dashboard, so you'll be able to see those later if you get them. But this is better than just putting your email out there. Okay, the other thing on my checklist here is analytics, which is just that idea of like how many people are visiting your website. And if you install Dashboard, it comes with that. Like it actually presents that on the Jetpack dashboard right away. This is your site statistics. You can get a slightly more detailed view if you go here, I think. And you can see, obviously, I don't get a lot of traffic on this site because it's just a demo site. But once you get traffic, you can start to see how people got there. So what were your top pages? What things did people click on your page? If people found you through a search engine, what term did they search? And that gave them a link to your site that they clicked on. Like, this is really valuable information if you're doing search engine optimization. Like, if you're trying to get people to your website, this is how you can start finding out if it's working, and that's really valuable if that's what you're trying to do right now. So that's what I recommend. Even if it's not something you're super interested in, it is really interesting to see how people get to your site. And of course, if you want more traffic, there are ways to get there, like having a Twitter account that you then link to, like on your site, putting content on your site frequently, and then linking to it on Twitter. Like that's a good way to start getting that traffic. But really, it's really mainly about content, honestly. Okay, so I believe that is about time to wrap up. So if you have any more questions about your site that would be worth talking about generally, that would be great. I can try to answer those quickly if you have those questions. Otherwise, the main thing I would like to request is that let's schedule a time to have a conversation about your specific site and talk through my recommendations for it and your ideas for it, and then maybe even walk you through some of the steps. So if you go to zachwhalen.net/contact, you can see that I've got several ways you can contact me here. This, by the way, is like a Google Voice number. No, that's my office number. It forwards to my cell phone. This is a Google Voice number that also forwards to my cell phone, but you can send a text message to that. I don't think I've ever gotten any through that, so maybe I should just sort of double check that it actually works. But in any case, it might work. I've got links to other things here that I've chosen to link to. I did put my email address on here, kind of just because I don't know. I mean, I don't mind a lot of spam. Honestly, I can delete it. It's not that big of a deal. And also, I'm kind of like out there as a public figure, as a professor, so I'm not as worried about kind of being found out, if that makes sense, or discovered. So, but I would recommend more caution for you. Just saying that I've made a different choice here. So anyway, once you have thought about your site a little bit, maybe even tried something out, let's have a conversation about it. So click this Book Now button, and this will give you a place where you can reserve a time. You can select which type of conference you'd like to schedule. Text-based would just be chatting, like in Slack. Video conference we could just do either over Slack, or we can do this other thing, whereby.com, or if there's something else you have in mind, you can select that there. And once you select a type, then I have slightly different availability for some of these formats. So let me know what works for you. Like mainly, like my wife is teaching piano lessons like remotely, so I don't want to be live streaming or doing video chats while she's doing that over Zoom. So that you can only do text-based conferences during those time slots. Anyway, that's the kind of thing that I've configured that for. But anyway, please make an appointment. If you can't make an appointment with me, if you'd rather not, then the DKC tutors can also help you with a lot of the same advice that I would give you and walk you through it the same way they can walk you through it the same way I could. So you can go to dkc.umw.edu and let's see how their website is looking. Yeah, so then you can book a remote appointment, right? I mean, they're obviously just doing remote appointments now, but they can do them. It takes you through EAB once you get into this. It's not going to work for me because I'm faculty, but for you, it should take you into a place where you can reserve an appointment with them. So, okay, well, I've been going for a while, so I think this is probably a good time to wrap it up. I haven't seen any questions for a minute, so I think this is good. But if you do have just a question, of course, you can just email me or send me a message in Slack. Looks like I've got one from Michaela. Otherwise, schedule a time to talk. 20 minutes we'll probably cover it, depending on what we need to do. Like if there's a lot of things that you want me to walk you through, that might take more time. But we can always do a second appointment. So let's schedule. Start with 20 minutes and then go from there if we need to. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up for today. So thanks for watching. Have a good afternoon. I guess I'll probably do another stream on Friday. I'm not totally sure yet, but I'll let you know. Okay, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Bye.